Hi, welcome to the Project Prometheus vlog. It has been a while since the last one. So first off, I'm going to start with some apologies. I'm not exactly back into the swing of things as of right now. The video is a little bit rainy. I'm not sure what that's about. My camera's been acting weird recently. And I'm not going to be editing today's video because I lost my my handy dandy little editing hacks that I had made to make it go by more quickly of some colored papers that help me know when to cut stuff. I don't know where that is, and I don't have time today to make it, and I really just want to get an episode out. So have fun. So yeah, it's been a long time, and I feel like it's important to talk about why it has been a long time. Um, just in case anyone is maybe following a similar journey as something to look out for. Because honestly, the thing that stopped this vlog from happening for a really, really, really long time was actually really small, very small impediment. And the answer was this green screen back here. My wife accidentally tripped on it, and it tore it down. And it wasn't easy to get hung up again. Got put away, and I didn't record for a really, really long time. Now that I've got it back and I'm recording again, I realize I should have just done it beforehand. You guys would have seen my, garbage living room. Not the living room. You would have seen the rest of my study. But, you know what? So what? So what if you see a small couch and a little treadmill and some board games? Continuing to produce would have been much more valuable for me, as well as anyone else who may have been able to find value in it. Certainly, at the very least, would have been more useful for me to keep on iterating and producing and experimenting. So that was the impetus of what caused it all to go downhill for so long. To be honest, there was another thing. I had an aunt pass away, and it was very rough for the family, and so that ceased kind of all development on Project Prometheus for a while. While we were kind of recovering from that, we just had different priorities at the time. That's all done with, and even throughout all that, I was still writing a little bit here and there. It wasn't very concertedly. But on top of that, I just ran into a huge writer's block problem where I realized I needed to provide a narrative introduction into the world so that people could understand what they were getting into, that they could understand the theme. Because up until now, it's basically all been in my head. So I was writing that, and I was just having the hardest time coming up with something that would be valuable and interesting in the form of a short story. My dad is a creative writer by profession, and I like to think I'm okay at it. I, picked up a thing or two, but by no means was it coming easily. And that tripped me up for a really long time. The combination of all those things led to me not working on Prometheus probably for about, like a month or so. It took a long time to get back into it. Now, just as important to talk about the things that went wrong, to be potential pitfalls to look out for as you're going on your own journeys. That small things make a big difference, and grit is important. And times can be rough, and it's important to find ways around those difficult times. But what ended up being the solution for me was, number one, making it through the funeral and the death experience there in the morning. And then really it was just digging back into it. There was no secret sauce, no specialness about it. It was simply sitting down on my commute and having the drive and desire to open the laptop, start typing again. And those first couple of times especially was really not easy. Very difficult. I had no motivation. I really didn't want to do it. Honestly, this vlog and my yearly goal of trying to get it released before the end of December are what gave me the final push to be able to just say, okay, I don't enjoy this right now, but I'm going to do it. And when I started writing, I checked a ton of story ideas and eventually came up with one that I thought had some promise and kept on writing. And I thought, okay, you know what? This is all right. This is somewhat decent. It demonstrates the unpredictability of the world, the kind of wild, wacky factions in it, how everything is changing all the time, and consequences and everything that I was wanting the game to be. Felt like it was being encapsulated in the story, and it's by no means perfect. Someone who's better at writing would, of course, do a much better job, but it's enough for me for right now, at least for an initial release, and maybe I'll refine it a little more before it gets released. But it was a meaningful step and a meaningful progress point. That was something that I was able to celebrate and to renew morale. Another thing I was running into that was causing a lot of problems while I was writing down the fiction of the world was in Project Prometheus, there's this idea that the world is massive, like the largest world you can imagine, and it is constantly shifting and evolving. The end result of this, or the main cause of this, is because a meteorite crashed into the center of the Earth filled with magic and kind of infused itself with the core of the planet, and as a result, everything is just chaos now. Not 100% all the time, but it's frequent enough that civilization is very difficult to come across. A lot of countries were trying to rely on old methods of harnessing power, not magical power, just political power and territorial power. And it wasn't until a certain kingdom decided, you know what, we're going to embrace this change, and we're going to start an initiative to send out adventurers into the land that is constantly shifting and evolving, and they're going to find ways to bring value back to a heavily secured and fortified main location. And it's going to be kind of a central office that everything else kind of operates independently from, but with the support of. This may sound familiar for those of you who have read books like Creativity Inc. and stuff. I never really noticed that parallel, but yeah, it is kind of how you do a startup inside of a large enterprise organization. And that was going well, but names were being so difficult. I could not think of what this initiative was called. I couldn't think of, the ideas that the player is a recently graduated member of this academy of sorts, and I couldn't think up of names for anything. However, the promise that IDEO has that science shows that your aha moment is only 0.02 milliseconds away from your completely stuck moment came true. It was, while I was doing it, I realized, wait a minute. Project Prometheus is a pretty good name for this. Why don't I just use that? And I've been using it as the acting name this whole time. And it dawned on me, I can just use it. This isn't going to be a multi-billion-dollar thing with a ton of resources to pump into it to come up with the perfect nomenclature. This is a game that I'm making for myself and maybe a few other people. Why not just pick something that sounds fine and move on? And then the game will actually get released instead of being mired in pointless debate. And so that's what I did. The Academy was now Project Prometheus. That was what that kingdom had created to bring back lands. Now you'll notice I haven't ever said the name of the kingdom. I'm still working on that. I'm not entirely sure what to do with that yet. But following this pattern, I'm sure I'm going to be able to figure it out. At the very least, I'll be able to start moving in a direction. On that note, progress is moving along very nicely. I've gotten well past the world introduction. I've got the character creation and world creation steps outlined, as well as the session 0 that the player and the world builder have together. And I'm well into fleshing out what the phase building section is for the world builder. I just kind of defining what the 3-act structure is and how that works in a roleplay environment. And all that. And it's going along really well. And I'm very confident that I'm going to be able to release this thing, at the very least in a beta stage, to the RPG subreddit by December. And that's a pretty cool feeling. And that feeling is what is pushing me forward on it every time I sit down to write. It's pretty incredible. And This whole process reminds me of a book I am reading called The Messy Middle. It's written by a very smart guy who's the chief product officer at Adobe. And he talks about how so often you hear about people discussing how something starts or how something ends because those are exciting. As humans, we kind of love that story that comes from a beginning and an end, but so often we don't hear about the middle, about how to get that done, how to progress from a start to an end. And I feel like this journey has been me finding my way through that messy middle. And one of the biggest lessons I've learned is having, and this is straight from The Messy Middle. I highly recommend the book. Go check it out. Um, is having manufactured celebratable milestones, signs of progress, because our brains are wired to function that way. And what's the point in trying to avoid that or trying to beat it when we can simply harness it? So, for example, just opening the laptop and writing again was a defensible enough milestone for me that I recognized it and it gave me motivation to keep on moving. Now, I didn't really recognize that that's what that was back when I was doing it. But in retrospect, I can see that that was a very important moment for me and very important for the game. So, that's where I'll leave it today. Thank you for joining along as well. And best of luck in your own endeavors. If you ever have any questions or anything and want to hear from someone who is actively going through the process, feel free to reach out. And, let's talk. Let's see what we can do to help each other. Talk to you later.